In the previous video, I looked at the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE. I was left underwhelmed by this phone. My concerns primarily were to do with three main points. The first issue was the refresh rate issue, wherein the phone suffered from jankiness and stuttering at 120Hz refresh rate. Secondly, the phone got warm even under normal use. And thirdly, the battery life of the phone underperformed. Samsung has very recently released the first January update for OneUI 4. So in this video, I wanted to see whether that update has made any difference to the everyday performance of this phone. You see, a lot of people were left disappointed by the reports of problems with this phone, given that it is such a pertinent device. If you get all the flagship features or most of them at a price point which is not even $700 or 50,000 rupees, you should have a winner on your hands. We're also currently in the middle of the January sale from Amazon, so a lot of people are hoping for a different verdict on this phone. So if you're interested in all this, let's explore the performance of this phone again following the January update. So the update I'm talking about is the OneUI update with these update numbers shown on the screen, depending on the region. It is 441 MB in size, and besides the latest Android security patch, it promises bug fixes and software improvements for various facets of this phone and other Samsung models. So first of all, I'm happy to say that the refresh rate bug seems to have been fixed with this update. That means even on 120Hz resolution, the phone has stopped stuttering. Earlier, very frequently the refresh rate of the phone got awry and it offered a very janky experience. You could go down to 60Hz and it did fix the problem, but that meant sacrificing the smoothness of 120Hz. Ever since the phone has been updated with the latest software, this issue has not recurred. A note here on themes. Samsung phones have always had problems with applying themes onto the phone. Although they offer this within the pre-installed apps and it is fairly easy to choose a free or paid theme and customize the look of your phone, once applied, the phone always seems to lag and stutter. This was true many generations back, such as with the S7 era phones, and it still seems to apply. It may be specific to certain themes, but the fact remains that this phone became almost unusable when I tried the Pixel theme. This was before the update and I haven't tried this since, but having seen how it's handled by several generations of Samsung, it's not something I would recommend you do with your Samsung. The other issue was to do with the phone getting warm even under normal usage. Now it's important to note that I chose my words very carefully in my review of this phone. I didn't say that it overheated, but that it got warm and as a result it was uncomfortable to use without a case. Now, if I use this phone for even short periods of time, then the temperature difference between the bottom of the phone and close to the top can be as much as 6 degrees Celsius. So if the bottom is sitting at 30 degrees, the top will get as hot as 36 degrees. This is not hot to the touch, but enough to make you feel uncomfortable holding it for extended periods of time. As a result, I prefer using it with a case most of the time. Now a couple of points here. A lot of people feel that even the Snapdragon 888 overheats, and some believe that this may be a reason why Samsung did not choose to sell it in certain regions. This is an incorrect assumption, because if this was true, then the same would not be sold in the US or Samsung's home market of South Korea. They've even chosen the Snapdragon 888 for Europe with the Fan Edition. So it continues to be a factor of economics and how they have planned their business for different markets. Also, my recommendation against the S21 FE was an aggregation of the negative factors that affect everyday usage, but that does not mean that I suggest you try and hunt for a grey market import with a Snapdragon chip instead. Rather, this close to the next gen S22 launch, I suggest that it's probably better to wait for this if budget is of no consequence, or look at the S20 FE, which is cheaper and offers better value even today without these issues. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to this clear standing cover by Samsung. It's available not just for the Fan Edition but for other Samsung phones as well. Although it is fairly heavy for a clear case, it includes a nice aluminium kickstand that makes content consumption on this phone a joy. You can use it to prop this phone up horizontally or vertically, and because it uses this metal clip, it feels quite sturdy. It also has good looking Samsung branding on the clip. The case weighs 49 grams and has ribs on the sides, which offers a good grip on the phone. The phone fits snugly inside the case, and the camera bump is also protected whilst lying on a flat surface. So if you're after a clear case for your phone, do check this out. It does change the feel of the phone and makes it much larger and heavier, but if it helps sidestep the issue of a warm phone, then it's an added benefit besides offering protection. So the update hasn't done much in terms of how cool the phone runs, but if you plan on using the phone inside a case, this may not be such a big issue after all. The third issue was to do with the battery life of this phone. Now this is something that will vary from user to user and is subjective, but I can safely say that this is no endurance champ. I struggled to reach 5 hours of screen on time with this phone, and that was with Wi-Fi most of the time and with Wi-Fi calling enabled and 2 SIM cards on the Airtel and Jio networks. I don't see this changing drastically with this update, but if you're fine with a top-up during the day, then this phone will be able to last a full day under similar conditions. If you only use one SIM card, turn off the always-on display and other such battery-saving measures, the overall standby time will increase. But since this phone does not feature an adaptive refresh rate screen and Exynos chips are not as efficient as their Snapdragon counterparts, whilst in use, it still uses a considerable amount of battery. And finally, I'm still seeing the network connection error from time to time. Earlier, this caused the phone to be unreachable to a lot of callers and may have contributed to the lackluster battery life. So since the error is still there, I don't think this has been completely resolved. The frequency of this error has certainly reduced. Now once again, this particular error can be specific to the mobile network or certain type of Wi-Fi router, but no other device that I've used or tested has shown this error. The S21 FE 5G has never shown up this error, and there are some scattered reports of other users also facing this issue. So I cannot rule this problem out as being an isolated case. But going by the improvements since the update, I'm hoping that this can be resolved with an update in the future. So there you have it. Choosing and buying a smartphone is a very personal decision. There are lots of varying factors that will ultimately decide the level of satisfaction that you experience with a certain device. However, it is important to review a device for what it offers when it is made available for sale. The overall proposition is decided by the phone's performance, the physical aspects, and the value proposition that it offers. Samsung has been famously dishing out stepmotherly treatment to certain markets in terms of the core component inside their phones for a long time now. We have seen over successive generations that the Exynos chips are inferior to their Snapdragon counterparts. The S21 FE does not change that, and yet it remains an important phone because of the array of features that it offers and the price point at which it brings them to the consumers. It also offers a larger battery than the standard S21, and although this does not seem to help with the overall endurance, with perhaps the lack of an adaptive refresh rate setting contributing to this, at least on paper it offers a better overall device at a cheaper price than that phone. However, as many people have correctly pointed out, phones do not exist in a vacuum. You have to consider what they offer relative to other devices available on the market. And as things stand, for the Exynos variant of the S21 Fan Edition, it is certainly a case of too little too late. The latest software update has thankfully fixed one of the main issues with the phone, but other inherent problems remain. Unless you're willing to live with the compromises of the S21 FE and are absolutely smitten by the way it looks and feels, there are better choices available on the market. Assuming you want a Samsung device and depending on your personal situation and finances, you may be able to get a phone that costs less and has none of the above problems such as the S20 FE 5G, or if you're able to wait and are able to and willing to spend more, then Samsung's next generation of phones are just around the corner, perhaps as soon as the 8th of February this year. Although no one can accurately predict how those phones will perform in the real world, you will still be able to benefit from the generational improvements. If you already have an S21 FE, then I highly recommend updating to the latest software update, as it certainly makes for a more stable experience. It fixes some issues and lessens the severity and frequency of others, and will thus make your time with this device much more enjoyable. So I hope this video helps you to decide whether to go ahead and buy the S21 FE, perhaps in the current Amazon sale, or choose a different device altogether. Do watch my original review of the S21 FE for a more in-depth look about its features and performance. And please consider subscribing to the channel if you found this content useful. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.